Welcome to the eCommerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
All right, guys, Josh Chin here. I'm the host of the eCommerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts in the e-com industry and we go behind the scenes of the struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by Chronos Agency. If you run a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand that is ready to scale and to double your customer lifetime value through lifecycle marketing, Chronos is your company. We've helped hundreds of brands scale profits with email, SMS, and mobile push while getting an average of 3,500% ROI from our efforts. We've worked with brands like Truly Beauty, The Oodie, Dr. Living Good, and many more. Now, the next step is to email us at sales@chronos.agency, or you can go to chronos.agency to learn more. Today's guest is someone with an incredibly interesting story. Sharon Even is an incredible Amazon seller, brand builder, and entrepreneur who started her e-commerce journey at the age of 15, importing and selling sunglasses in New Zealand on trademe.co.nz. Outside of selling on Amazon, Sharon has also coached almost 800 entrepreneurs one-on-one on how to sell effectively on Amazon. She's also the co-host of Seller Sessions at sellersessions.com, an incredible podcast, a speaker at global events, and also a YouTuber. Sharon, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joshua. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
We've had quite the conversation before we even click on record, actually, in our last Zoom meeting. But for people who don't know you, how did you end up in this crazy world we call the e-com industry?
Wow. I feel like you have to go all the way back to the beginning because there was like a full-on story from it. It's not just how, I saw an ad type of situation. I started a long time ago.
Let's do it.
So I was born and raised in New Zealand. My parents are Israelis who immigrated into New Zealand, and it all starts with my father. So my father is an entrepreneur, and he had a really strong Israeli accent in New Zealand. And my dad used to do a lot of flipping before flipping was a word. Like I'm 32 years old now. I'm talking to you when I was like 10. So this is like 22 years ago. He used to buy televisions there used to be, well, maybe you're too young to know, but there used to be ads in the newspaper for and like garage sales and things like that. And
yeah.
And he didn't want people to take advantage or to hear his accent and not want to talk to him because, it still is, but a pretty racist world back in the day, especially as well. And he would ask me, because I've got my Kiwi accent, which used to be a lot more Kiwi when I was young. He used to ask me as a 10-year-old, he used to tell me everything I needed to know about the TV, for example. And he used to tell me what to ask so that, I was already like a negotiator when I was 10, 11 years old. And my dad used to have a jewelry factory in New Zealand as well. So I was seeing a lot of manufacturing going on and many different things. Like my parents were just involved in so many different things. And then they divorced when I was 15. And when they divorced, so I had a severely handicapped brother and a normal sister. And when they divorced, my mom moved back to Israel because she needed more help and around her, etc. And my dad moved to Australia. And I said, over my dead body, I'm not leaving my home country, New Zealand. And my parents said to me after, I'm really making it a shortcut version of it, but after a lot of crap that I gave them, that there's no problem, I can stay in New Zealand, but they're not going to help me because I thought they would help them. And I was like, cool, no problem. I wanted to finish school. I'm very blessed that my dad, as a child, used to force me to learn about things that I didn't know that were going to be the foundation of who I am today. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was 12, like all sorts of, dad would give me like books like The Ultimate Gift and things like that, things that really gave me the tools to be this like kick-ass entrepreneur that I became. But I found myself at the age of 15 now in New Zealand with no family, because I had no family in New Zealand. Wanted to stay at school. I was working after school at Mick Cafe, which is like, the cafe of McDonald's. And then I was looking at different things that I can do. And then I remembered that dad used to sell on Trade Me. And I remembered that he used to always force me to wear sunglasses because the UV rays in New Zealand were very, very harmful compared to anywhere else in the world. And I was like, oh my God, I could totally sell sunglasses online. And then within a couple of months, I had already had something like 200 listings on trademe.co.nz. I'd imported sunglasses from China and from America, bought them wholesale in bulk, started selling them on Trade Me. And like today, it sounds like a normal thing, but this is like 20 years ago, less than that, 17 or so years ago. Like Trade Me, I think, was only a couple of years old. The internet was not what it's like today.
Oh, yeah.
And I found myself at the age of almost 16 with an online business, right? Living alone with no family around me. And that's the very beginning of everything else that followed to it. So that's sort of how it all started. And then I've never looked back.
It's incredible. That's incredible. Your parents seem to be quite a bit of an influence in your life. And we talked a little bit about this, but you now have a kid, and 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What are you kind of taking from your experience personally, and how do you see your role in shaping a child's journey, maybe as an entrepreneur, or maybe in any path that you know?
It's a tough question. I'll tell you why. I hated my dad as a child. I today love him very much and I'm very thankful.
Mm-hmm.
But while everyone else was like playing, I was, reading the encyclopedia and I was being like, I had to learn 2 new words from the dictionary every day. I had a very strict upbringing because my dad hated the school system and he wanted me to learn everything that the school's not going to teach me.
Wow.
So he would, and as a kid, as like a 10, 11, 12-year-old, you don't understand that he's trying to like do the best thing for you. And for me specifically, if you look at the history of my life, like, thank God he did that because I left home at such a young age and I already had the tools that people at age 50 today, some don't have.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one because on the one hand, I lived like every day hating my dad until I was probably about, I don't know, at 17, 18. But on the other hand, I'm so thankful. I think today I'm not going to be as tough as my dad was with my son, but the world's, kids today are very spoiled little shits. And there's so much distractions and things that I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I hope I find a way to still give him the same foundation that my dad implanted in me, but making it probably a little bit more fun. There's a Rich Dad, Poor Dad kids version today. I read the adult version ages ago. I think that is something that I will do, but I'm definitely I definitely want to find a way to make sure, because the thing is the school system hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
And the world has. The world has changed dramatically, right? Like we've got calculators at the tip of our fingers. We've got you can make money in so many different ways today. It's not the way that it used to be that, if you didn't go to I didn't go to college. I make more money than many people that went to college did. And there's nothing wrong with going to college. And I'm not saying that in a up myself way. I'm just saying that it's not the only way, right? So I'm definitely going to teach him everything that my dad taught me and I've learned from my experiences, just not going to force it on him, I hope.
It sounds like it's about options. It's just about having a little bit more options and knowledge about what's available out there, even as a kid. I think that's hard because you don't. I guess we don't necessarily know what's good and what's bad, but it's that journey of, I guess, exploring what's available to you versus just taking things for what they are and just saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
everybody goes to college and I should too."
I think it's also about when you come from a household that does have money, right? It can be very easy for parents to hand out anything.
Mm,
And even though I didn't grow up in a super rich family and I didn't grow up in a poor family, we were middle class and I had everything that I wanted or needed, but I had to work for every single thing I had. And it would be taken away from me if I didn't do this, if I didn't do that. When I said to you, I had to you learn 2 new words from the dictionary every day. My dad would test me every Saturday and would check and the reason there was logic behind everything my dad did because I was spoken to in Hebrew at home, but I was speaking
hmm
English. And my dad said, if I don't make sure that my vocabulary is 100%, I'm going to get to a place where I'm not going to have 100% Hebrew and I'm not going to have 100% English. And the truth
mm,
is, he was right. My Hebrew is a very good level, but I don't read and write like a normal person. And my English is very good, but my brain now thinks in Hebrew. So it takes me a minute sometimes. So there was a reasoning why he did that. But my point is, I worked for everything that I got as a child. I didn't just get handed stuff. And in today's world, children are so spoiled. So I already, from now, like I've already been doing this, I'm pretty sure, like for at least the last year, you do this, you'll get that. Right. I'm
mm,
teaching him basic stuff. You finish
yeah.
eating, you take your plate, you put it in the kitchen. I'm not going to clean it up after you. Like little things like that, not to be lazy and not to expect other people to do things for you and to teach independence from a
Yeah.
very young age, I think is very important. It shaped who I am. So
That's
yeah.
incredible. And now, talking about options, we had a little bit of a conversation around your business and Amazon. Um, First, what are you expecting from Amazon in BFCM this year? Anything differently you're expecting um, out of what's happening in the world today?
Um, Look, there's a lot of legal things going on around Amazon right now,
Yep.
which I'm not 100% knowledgeable on to like give proper indication of how it's going to be. But I I've always looked at Amazon the same way that I still look at it today, which is it's a great starting point for many people to get their foot in the door. But if your business is 100% Amazon, you're putting your business like in the hands of a jungle that you don't control,
Mm,
right? Amazon is different in a way of when you have your own Shopify store or you're building your brand outside of Amazon, it's different. You control that. No one can you like Facebook can take you down or stop you from doing Facebook ads, but you have all these other options. When you sell
yeah.
on Amazon, you've already got buyers that are ready to buy because they're not randomly on Facebook, they're not randomly on Google. They've typed in a keyword, they're ready to buy. They're hot buyers. They're already ready to buy, but they're Amazon's buyers. They're not your buyers. They're not
Mm,
loyal to you. They are loyal to Amazon. If you go out of stock tomorrow, unless you're building a brand, if you go out of stock tomorrow, they don't care. They'll buy from your competitor. And the thing about building a brand, which is also outside of Amazon, and you're actually, a brand is about the customers. It's about the feeling of the customers. There's so much that goes into it. Whereas when you're just an Amazon seller, and I'm not saying it's bad to be just an Amazon seller, there's many, many, many like 9-figure sellers, people that are making a lot of money being just Amazon sellers. The only thing is that we have to look at what's happened in the last year. Amazon, without notice, changed the way that we can bring inventory in when you're doing FBA, right? They've, without notice, made these changes. Without notice, they can do whatever they want. And I think that anyone who hasn't they're not prepared correctly will lose their business. Right. There's many, many different things that we need to take into account. Containers today are costing about times 5, times 6 what they cost a year ago. A container that used to cost $3,000 to $4,000 today is costing between $15,000 to $18,000. Right. That's bringing huge costs up. So I think that in general, what I envision that's going to happen with Amazon sellers and Amazon specifically is the people that are selling really, really cheap products may not be able to continue doing that because shipping is so expensive and I don't see it going anywhere in the next, year at least, because we're just before Q4. And then after Q4, we've got Chinese New Year. So that's always times like I've got people that are already making orders for 2022, because so there's a lot of things are going on. I think that it's a great time to diversify yourself if all you do is sell on Amazon. And to make sure that you're in many, many different places, not just on Amazon. So you have your own, Shopify store. It doesn't have to be Shopify, your own e-commerce store, working with influencers, building up social media. This is not the typical stuff that Amazon sellers usually do because that's what they usually are. So I think that demand has gone up, like, I don't know the percentage, but it's gone up like crazy. A lot more people, my granddad buys on Amazon now. He's like in his 80s. So I think that there's a lot more demand, but there's a lot more restrictions. And there's also Amazon's pushing towards brand building. So they're giving a lot more options to people that are. And I think that that's what they really want. They don't want the cheap shit being sold online on their store anymore. I have a tendency to go on and on. So stop me at any stage.
That's good. That's really good insights because I didn't know all of this. So you're saying that brand building is now incentivized on Amazon. How exactly does that play out? Is that a shift in policies? What's Amazon doing exactly?
So Amazon has this thing which is called brand registry. Okay, so the minute that you have a trademark, you are able to get into brand registry. You don't have to have an approved trademark. You just have to have a trademark serial number, which you get like within something like 7 days from filing for a trademark. Once you have brand registry, you then get all sorts of things that anyone that doesn't have brand registry doesn't. So you have the option of having a video on your listing. You have an option of having A+ content, which is what you have below the fold. You've got all these beautiful images instead of text. Okay, so you've got the A+ content. And then you have the option of having brand ads. So apart from just having ads in very specific placements, you have even more options. You have options, for example, video ads. You don't have that option if you're not brand registered. You have the ability to actually have an Amazon store. So an Amazon store, it kind of looks like a landing page specifically for your Amazon store. It doesn't show your competitors on it. You have the ability to do Amazon posts, which is basically sort of like free placement on your competitors' listings, which is like probably one of the only things you get for free. You have what is called Vine reviewers. So you can give away 30 units of your products to Amazon Vine reviewers even before you launch to help you to kickstart to get reviews. And it's legit. Like, there's people that buy fake reviews. No, this is legit Amazon Vine reviewers. That's just like a tiny bit of it. They also help you to protect your brand. So your trademark, so that you don't have people trying to hijack you. There's just so many different things. And they keep adding. They've just added recently, like 2 days ago, that you now have the option to contact a buyer who has left a bad review. You've never had anything like that in the past, but only if you're brand registered, right? So and not only that, they're not allowing you anymore to give your product a brand name. So where it says brand, if you don't want it to say generic and you want it to say your brand name, they're not allowing you to do that anymore without proving to them that your product actually has its brand name on it. So you now have to show them, send an image of your product on a table or in your hand, so that it can't be a 3D mock-up or a render of it, showing your logo on it. So, that's a lot of things that they're doing. They kicked out, I think it was something like 200,000 Chinese sellers that were bad actor sellers. There's this thing specifically of a lot of black hat stuff comes out of specifically like either Chinese sellers or Russian sellers that do a lot of black hat things. So they're trying to get rid of black hat and to bring in actual brands. Right. There's probably more things that I left out, but I think that's quite a few examples.
That's a good, definitely a good introduction. I'm taking a ton of notes down. But for someone who's already selling on Shopify, already has a direct-to-consumer brand, who might be interested in kind of diversifying into a new channel, like Amazon, what's your best advice for them? What are the first couple of steps that someone can take?
I'm going through clients right now from Australia who basically half invented a product. They've already hit 1 million in sales. Well, they're on like 1.2 million in sales outside of Amazon. So literally they're working with a very specific influencer on Instagram who has 500,000 followers. They made a product. This is genius. They made a product for his way of working out. So he has his own specific program that they were taking, and he didn't have equipment that suited them. So they made a product. And then this guy who like has big NBA players following him, they sent it to him. He loves it. And he uses it in every single like video that he makes. He's got 500,000 followers. My clients have got like NBA players buying their products. What's his name? Joe Rogan has spoken about is that his name?
Joe Rogan, the podcaster?
Yeah. So he spoke about their product on his, on a recent podcast of his.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're like, and they only started their business in November. Like
just last year?
Now just last year, and they only actually started selling to the world this January. So they were first just selling it in Australia.
Wow.
It's like something crazy. Anyway, and when they came to me, they wanted me to help them to get onto Amazon because a lot of their clients were asking them, do you also exist on Amazon?
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was I went in and I used what is called brand analytics, which is another thing that you get when you're a brand on Amazon, where Amazon shows you what the most popular keywords are on Amazon. They don't show you how many people are searching for it, but they give each keyword a ranking on how popular it was. And I could see that the people are actually searching for their brand name.
Oh, right? Okay.
And when you type in their brand name, you're seeing a whole bunch of competitors that sell not like copycats of their product, but products that aren't them, basically.
Yeah, but similar.
And I was like, look, if you've got people actually searching for your product, like it makes them 100% sense that you exist here. The thing is they sell a big wooden product. So Amazon takes, I would, just to try and make it easier for people, I would say like around 30%. So they take usually 15% referral fee, whatever you sell the product for, 15%. And then they have the fulfillment fee, the FBA fee, which depends on certain tiers, how big your product is, how much it weighs. Their product is like this big piece of wood. So I also needed to make sure that it was still going to be profitable for them to do. When you sell on Amazon, you have either FBA, fulfilled by Amazon, or you have fulfilled by merchant, where you can fulfill it yourself. You can have a third-party logistics company like Deliver, and they hook up to your Amazon store and they can send it out for you. I had to make sure that it was still going to be worth it. So the first thing I did was I calculated the fees and if it's going to make sense for them, or whether it makes sense for them just to say, no, buy off our website because they make more money there.
Yeah.
And we realized that they're still going to be able to make a really good margin. However, we put up their prices. So outside of Amazon, they were selling at the time for $130. And I asked them to put their pricing up to $150. Why? Because I knew that people would still buy their product at $150. We just gave it at $150 with free shipping. And then on Amazon, we were also at 150 at a higher price point so that they can still make that really good profit that they make.
Right.
So if you are wanting to transition into Amazon, I think that it's logical for any brand to also be on Amazon, whether it's just, an extra couple of thousand a month. It's still worth it, in my opinion. And it's giving people that option because Amazon has that authority where people trust Amazon, right? They may not trust. Yeah, there's a trust factor there, especially specifically with Americans. Like in Australia, no one cares about Amazon. Not really, right? And they're an Australian like they started in Australia. But the minute that they moved, which is where they made so much money, to America, Canada, etc., like people started asking about Amazon. So I think that some things you want to do is get a really good software that can also show you the keywords if people are even looking for your brand name, or if people are looking for keywords related to your product, because Amazon's about keywords and knowing where to position your product. Your brand could be on Amazon, but if no one's looking for it, there's no point. And then you also want to make sure that you're doing the calculations. So you got to remember that you've got this one more cost to factor in, but it may also, increase your sales by 50% a year. So it's worth it, that's really like some quick tips. I could probably think of some more, but that's from the top of my head.
So start with keyword research, then look at your economics, margins, make sure that the upside is significant enough that, especially when you're paying for 30% of your revenue to Amazon?
It's not that it's 30, so it's 15% referral fee in most categories, not all, but most categories. And then there's it goes by tiers depending on how big or small your product is. So you may have like a $400 product that may be this small. You're not going to pay 30%. You'll pay a lot less because it's something this small is probably going to cost you, I don't know, like $5 or $6, $7 max FBA fee, depending on how much it weighs. So what I mean is you have to understand the tiers in advance. All this information's on Google. Just Google it, Amazon FBA tiers. But you have to calculate that. And that's why when I made those calculations, I realized that it's going to take quite a big chunk of their profit. So that's why I said, look, we looked at where they're positioning themselves, where they are in the middle of filing for patents for this product. No one can make exactly what they make. You've got this huge influencer selling this product. I mean, not selling, promoting it for free, by the way, right? For free. For free.
Snap. Okay.
Do not agree to take any money for it, which is like insane. And it made sense to me. And I said, look, if sales get affected, then we'll look into it. Sales just kept increasing. So that's why I was like, let's see if we can put our prices up a little bit. And then it made sense. And they did $40,000 in sales in their first month on Amazon. And this is like, Joshua, this is with a really shitty listing. This is before we've improved their images. This is legitimately from like no PPC, no advertising. It's people going in and looking for their brand name. $40,000 in sales, not in profits, but in sales with zero marketing from day one. I even have a screenshot somewhere I took where she was showing me like how much money they did before they went out of stock, and they can't keep the product in stock. So imagine if they weren't on Amazon.
So they were basically leaving like 40 grand minimum on a table before, they sold out. So that's
because the thing is people are typing in their brand name, and if they're not there, it means that the sale could go to a competitor.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you see your brand name being searched on Amazon, like you bet that your competitors are getting those sales instead of you. I can tell you myself 100%. As someone who started their current brands on Amazon, I know of very specific brands that aren't on Amazon that are hardcore, like promoting on Instagram, etc. And people are searching for their brand names on Amazon. I target their brand names in PPC all the time, and I get sales from their brand name all the time. And I said to my husband, I wonder how long it's going to take for them to understand that they're leaving money on the table by not being on Amazon,
Yeah.
So I think it's a no-brainer for some and not for all. If you sell like a random garlic press, probably no one cares.
Yeah. So say a brand is now on Amazon, if make the leap, and you spoke to hundreds of entrepreneurs. What are some of the common mistakes that you see for new sellers on Amazon?
Wow. That they're starting on Amazon, or they already sell outside of Amazon?
They, well, yeah,
First,
both. Let's say they already sell outside of Amazon. They just came onto Amazon. You're brand new sellers. What are the mistakes that make you go, oh my goodness?
there's many that come to my head, but before I even answer that, people need to understand that Amazon is its own jungle, right? There's only so many page one for each keyword, right? So the way that it works on Amazon, someone types in a keyword, right? Let's just say if I sell an anti-aging cream, okay, someone's typed in anti-aging cream, right? I think it's something like 90 something % of the sales happen on page one of a search term. There's only so many placements on a page one. So it's definitely become pay to play. That's one. And two, somebody could have written anti-aging cream, but they may have also written anti-aging cream for a 50-year-old. Sensitive skin anti-aging cream. There's many different, long tail and mid tail keywords that could come out of that. You need to understand when you bring a product onto Amazon that you could have the best product in the world, but you have to find keywords to be able to actually find your product. And you need to be able to be on page one in most scenarios, right?
Mm.
So the biggest thing I would say is that if you're transitioning into bringing your brand onto Amazon, is also understand, why are you doing that? Are you doing it because you just want to have an Amazon icon on your Shopify store, giving people an option to also buy on Amazon so you don't lose the sale if they prefer to buy on something like that? Or are you now trying to then compete on keywords on Amazon? And if you are, then you have to understand Amazon's jungle, which is, how does keywords work? Reviews, everything like competition. You may not even be used to being sabotaged. I was telling you earlier that last year on Prime Day, someone tried to sabotage our brand. When you sell on Amazon, you don't own your listing. It's not yours. It's Amazon's listing that you have created, but it is Amazon owns that page, that listing. It can do whatever it wants with it. And there can be more than one seller unless you're brand gated. So for example, I could be selling an anti-aging cream and somebody could have bought my products for, I don't know, in bulk and then sold it in their cosmetic store for a cheap price for some reason. And then someone decides that they want to then sell that on Amazon. Okay, an anti-aging cream is not a good example because it has to be new, but you get my point. Okay. And then they could sell it under my listing, right? Which we call many times a hijacker. Sometimes somebody could sell a counterfeit product under my listing, and then I have to go and try and kick them off and prove that it's counterfeit. So anyway, last year, somebody somehow uploaded, you can also make changes to other people's listings. Somebody uploaded a whole bunch of drug-related keywords to our listing in Canada, which then took down our listing worldwide for 4 different products. Right? One of them being a best-selling product that makes a lot of money. And it happened all on the very early morning Prime Day, right? Now to fix something like this, it's going to take 10 minutes. You upload what is called a flat file and it's fixed, or you're dealing with bots, meaning somebody has bots that keeps uploading a file with bad keywords in it. And then it's a totally different thing now. Thank God I'm connected to many people in the industry. It still took me 3 weeks to sort it out. 3 weeks, not one day. They didn't take me down for a day. They took us down for 3 weeks. Now on Prime Day, I was running some campaigns with influencers. So I was sending a whole bunch of micro influencers. They were sending traffic to what we call a dog page on Amazon. Have you ever seen a dog page? Sorry, this page isn't available. Yeah. Now, because I also sell my brands outside of Amazon, I was very quickly able to then redirect them and tell them, hey, send them to our store instead. And it was I'm not going to say that it was fixed because it's Prime Day. People want to buy, on Amazon, but, so you have to understand that when you're on Amazon, you're now competing against people. You become other people's competition in a totally different way from when you're on Shopify and you have to find your own traffic. I don't know how dramatic it is outside of Amazon, but it can't be as dramatic as it is on Amazon. So
I don't think so.
Yeah, you really need to take that also into consideration. You need to take into consideration how you're going to get into page one. You have to understand that, you're dealing with Amazon customers, which can be ruthless when it comes to reviews.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that, their product was 2 days late and they decided to leave a bad review on your product, which, so I think that on the one hand, there's 360 million, I think, buyers, 150 million Prime buyers in Amazon US. And I think over something like 300 and something million that have an Amazon account in the US specifically. So on the one hand, you have hot buyers coming into Amazon ready to buy, right? On the other hand, it's ruthless and you need to understand your niche. Not every single niche is ruthless, right? Some are, if you've got really niche-y products, it may be, you may be fine. But if you're like a supplement, in some supplements, PPC, pay per click, a cost could be $12 per keyword.
Yeah.
Sorry, $12 per click, not $12 per keyword. $12 per click, right?
Okay.
It could be vitamin B on its own could be $7 per click, and you could be selling a $12, product.
You're just losing money, yeah.
So you have to take all these things into consideration, understand how Amazon works. Are you going to be using outside traffic to send it in? And if you are, does it make sense to send them to an Amazon page? Why not send them to your page and then you own those customers? The way I look at it is if you're selling on Amazon, it's because you want to capture Amazon buyers. That's how I look at it, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, there's probably more stuff that I could come up with. But if you're a brand new seller, someone who's never really sold a product online, I think that the biggest mistake I see is people getting into really terrible Me Too products. We're in a world today of so much saturation where I think that brand building and differentiation is crucial.
That's key.
Yeah, crucial. It's not the way, we're not in 2016 when I started Amazon.
Yeah, not in the golden era, golden age of FBA anymore. Now it's starting to sound like I'm beginning to see a bigger picture of what Amazon is like, and this really explains what the whole FBA industry is really like. It's dynamic, it's fast moving, and it's not something you can kind of set it up one time and forget about it and let the money roll in, which is honestly partly what I expected, because it's just a listing. What else could you be doing with it? But it sounds like it's a lot of work. So I suppose for a brand owner outside of Amazon, you got to think about the resources that you're going to be allocating and the time that you're going to be allocating to building a channel like that as well, on top of the fees, the cost, but also the time and that attention that goes away from building your brand on, say, Shopify or somewhere else.
I think all aspects of our businesses take time, but it is, look, if you're a big brand outside of Amazon, you probably have VAs in place, right? There are specific agencies. There's one agency called VA Philippines, for example. Maybe it's VAA Philippines. And they train Filipino VAs for Amazon specifically. So they put them through an Amazon course of theirs, right? I just know about them because they reached out to me. They wanted me to give them one of my courses to help VAs learn. And I also know the owner. But apart from that, there are specific Amazon type of VAs. Now you got to be really, really careful because they can also like kill your brand. So you need to understand, I believe every brand owner that's selling on Amazon needs to understand the basics of Amazon first before they outsource, so that no one can play you, because we're in a world of scammers today. Oh, yeah. So I think that, today I only spend maximum of like 2 hours a day on my Amazon related brands, and the rest of my day is non-related to Amazon. Like, we're talking almost 5 years later. In my first 2 years, I was probably like on my computer all day and night because I wanted to keep scaling. So one of the biggest ways that I scaled was by bringing in more products, right? And leveraging the money that we had, meaning I never used to purchase like a year's worth of stock in advance. I always did really, really good inventory calculations where I knew what my lead time was, how much I sell during my lead time, what is a number that, we can order, and then always had enough money to then bring in more products. So we brought in a lot of products in our first 2 years. So I had a lot of hard work, but at some stage it's not like everyone makes it to be, but it is a lot easier once you've established yourself. You don't have to put as much time into it, but you still need to be on top of, inventory, which you have softwares for, PPC, which you can hire. Like, most of it you can hire.
Yes.
So it does involve a lot of hard work in the beginning, but like those customers I was telling you about, the Australians, they don't really understand Amazon, and I've been helping them with non-Amazon related stuff. We've been working with like making sure that there are patents in place and a Chinese trademark, all sorts of IP stuff that I've been helping them with. They're literally, I just helped them make the listing. They sent the stock in, and that's all they did, and they made 40K in like 3 weeks. So, you know what I mean? It depends on where your brand is at. If people are already searching for your brand name, it really could just be like putting up a listing and forgetting about it, right? But not forgetting about it, but taking care of reviews and things like that. Or it could be that no one cares about your brand, no one knows about your brand, and now you have to hardcore learn how Amazon works. It depends. It's so dependent on your situation, in my opinion.
That makes sense. Sharon, it sounds like it's a rabbit hole, a deep rabbit hole that people can go into. And I know that your YouTube channel is a really good resource. You put out tons of super in-depth content on your YouTube channel. So guys, go check out Sharon Even. That's Sharon Even on YouTube. And also listen to Sellers Sessions. That's sellersessions.com, sellersessions.com. I'll also be a guest on your show in a couple weeks' time. Yep. So definitely looking forward to that conversation as well. Sharon, if people are interested to connect with you and maybe take this conversation on a one-on-one basis, if you're available to take on clients still, where should they go to?
They can either check out my website, Sharon Even, like you said, even.com, or they can find me on Facebook, Sharon Even. And I also have a Facebook group called Amazon FBA Alphas, like an alpha dog. Yep, Alphas. And so Seller Sessions isn't my podcast. I'm a co-host, and my gigs are on every Thursday. I bring on, kick-ass people that are the real deal, nitty-gritty stuff. So I'm excited to have you on as well.
Awesome. Sharon, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been amazing.
Thanks, Joshua. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the eCommerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.